Coming up on today's episode, World Cup goes 3D, baby. We're talking soccer in your face. The secrets of 6-channel surround sound, how we would rip TVs if we were the type of guys to rip DVDs, and the Blu-ray releases for the week of June 15th, 2010. This is HD Nation.
HD Nation.
Today's episode is brought to you by the United States Air Force, Squarespace, and Netflix.
Hey, welcome to HD Nation. I'm Robert Heron.
And I'm Patrick Norton. HD Nation is your guide to the best in HD content and the best in home theater gear, no matter what your budget is. Blu-ray, online, satellite, cable, over the air, if it is in HD, we love it.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
World Cup, baby. The time is coming up. Well, it's now, actually. The World Cup 2010 is going to be broadcast in 3D. Sony's going to be handling the 3D capture and production of some 25 of the roughly 64 World Cup games.
Are we talking about rugby or soccer, or what else do they do World Cup in?
Football.
Football.
European football, a.k.a.
Soccer.
Here, yeah, soccer in America. World Cup, though.
I just want to make that clear.
I already have appointments to be at certain pubs and establishments at like the crack of dawn to watch these games live with some of my friends.
So I'm going to hear you calling me at like 5:30 in the morning going, "Goal!"
5:30 in the morning, we're getting up. Anyway, it's going to be great. Anyway, DirecTV and Comcast HD TV subscribers will have free access to the 3D games that we broadcast on the ESPN 3D channel. Now, that'll require some hardware updates. If you own actually the DirecTV boxes, you'll need a Series 21 box or higher.
Ooh.
But otherwise, if you have HD hardware from Comcast, you're set to go. Also, AT&T UVerse HD customers, you will have access to this technology in the 3D broadcast as well, but you will need, quote, a 3D technology package for $10 a month in order to view the 3D World Cup games. So you can squeeze out $10 for just that month of World Cup. You'll be able to watch that as well. No word yet on Verizon Fios subscribers, but it's looking like it won't be happening for this event. Now, the bottom line is you're going to need the HD set-top box from your provider, HD service from like AT&T UVerse, DirecTV, Comcast. You'll also need a new 3D HD TV. Outside of the United States, Spain's, hope I pronounced this right, Soga Cable, Japan's Sky Perfect TV, and Korea's SBS are the only networks confirmed to broadcast the games in 3D. So if you're in one of those three places in the world, you're in it with us. Now, if all of this applies to you, well, you need to also check that your 3D TV, check your 3D TV's 3D settings and ensure that the side-by-side mode is enabled when watching these games, similar to how it worked for the recently broadcast Masters Golf Tournament. Now, it seems that Samsung and Panasonic TVs are still the only options. LG's 3D TV isn't shipping or available as I'm saying this, I checked online, nor do I see that Mitsubishi's 3DC1000, that's the 3D adapter for some of their currently shipping TVs, I don't see that being available either. However, Sony finally announced the details for their 3D HD TVs that they announced back in CES, and they said they will be starting with around the $2,100 mark for the 40-inch XBR 42HX800, which requires glasses. And you got to buy the glasses and an emitter for the glasses.
Yeah, everybody else has the emitter, which is basically a little
is that their?
wireless
I
thing
believe
that-
that's their 3D ready model.
Right.
They have one where you have to buy the actual 3D part to go separate with it.
They top
but
out with like a $3,500 50.
I'm not sure if any of them are actually shipping. I bet you they start shipping this week. But if you check the Sony Style website right now, you'll see them listed up there.
I wonder if they're charging for the emitter to make up for the free 3D copy of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs you get with the Sony television.
Is that what they're?
That's the spiff.
We're going to get into some of those titles and how you can get them. It seems like right now the true 3D Blu-ray titles are currently only available in this bundle package. It's kind of crazy though. So if you're ready for your FIFA World Cup soccer in 3D, there are your options.
By the way, for all the details on the Sony 3D HDTV releases, I highly suggest you click on the links we got in the show notes at cnet.com. They all seem to be available on pre-order, but not actually shipping.
I was clicking through the links, and I think they might have had one of the 3D ready models that would be shipping this week from Sony. So good to see more models coming out there. More selection, better for us.
Color me excited, but satellite providers are dropping HD fees. Dish Network dropped its fees. DirecTV says they'll follow suit, which I think is awesome.
Ooh,
because I am a satellite HD TV consumer.
Nice, and you'll be able to get your HD at a better price. Always good. Sony says that 3D gaming is here for the PlayStation 3. A CNET article quotes, Sony will release 3 full titles on the PlayStation Network with 3D support on Thursday. This includes Wipeout HD, Super Stardust HD. Those will both offer the full 3D experience, while Pain will only support 3D in 2 of the game's levels. Expect more 3D HD TV gaming announcements this week at E3.
Oh my goodness.
Pretty cool. I will say those 2 games that they are mentioning for the full 3D experience, they're not the most graphically intensive games either, so I think they're able to really drive the full image for both eyes really easily with those particular titles. I think you're going to probably have to knock resolution down or something in order to get some of the really high-end, ultra-detailed titles like Red Dead Redemption.
I was going to say, where's the 3D
like
version of Red Dead Redemption?
I need my horses in 3D.
Please. The iPhone 4 hasn't shipped yet, but apparently the Reflex Dock Pro will bring 720p output to your HD TV. I hope the funky-shaped $50 dock actually supports HDCP and plays, iTunes video out to your TV and isn't locked down to just stuff you've ripped yourself. Props at GadgetReview.com for tracking down this one. And Panasonic.
Yeah, they dropped a press release this morning that they'd be releasing ultra-large, full HD 3D professional plasma displays. The 85, 103, and 152-inch models are destined for corporate rooms, stores, and amusement immersive 3D game environments.
Those are the categories. Amusive.
So, okay, we know the price on the 80. I actually don't know the price of the 3D version of the 85-inch, but that's at least $26,000.
Well,
the regular non-3D version was that high. So.
Yeah, they didn't even really talk about pricing. The 152-inch display, which is a 4K display, they're saying it could even project life-size images of people, which is nice given it weighs more than half a ton. It's a 1,300-pound display.
It's a giant display. It looks awfully good, but
yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
I stood next to it. It was bigger than life-size, I believe.
If you have the scratch, you could totally put this in your unbelievably unhinged.
You'd have to build the house around it.
Yeah, you'd have to build the house around it.
Or remove the roof and lower it in real carefully.
Maybe not for the 85-inch one, but yeah, I mean,
151.
These are totally studio and corporate displays. Matter of fact, I think a lot of them are going to go into editing studios because they have this Panasonic Slot 2.0, which means you can add like DVI or HD SDI interfaces into it. Which is
they also
really
use those as like behind
feature.
an anchor or anchor person when they're talking to make like that virtual looking out a window view. So if you need a giant display to sit behind someone, you can't use a projector to do it or a rear projection system. That's the customers here. Corporates, businesses, people can really afford or need just
and
a large
amusive 3D immersive gaming. Amusing immersive 3D. On the set-top box front, Gadget claims that the Apple TV is not dead. It's just morphing into a $99 iOS, that's the former iPhone operating system, powered streaming box that will actually do 1080p and have no local storage, like maybe 16 gigabytes or megabytes or something like that. I'm kind of actually curious how they're going to adopt multi-touch to work across the room on an HD TV. That would actually be really cool. Get your whole freaking Minority Report.
Would we be able to use the
on.
iPad maybe as the ultimate remote for that?
Actually, I have iPad running on my remote, so that would actually work.
There's your multi-touch.
Like that thought. I want a custom iPad application from Apple to control my Apple TV 2.0.
Do you keep your iPad on your knee when you're using it? Like I see every ad ever for the iPad. Everyone's got it on their knee.
I've actually never used it because it's so slippery. It just slides right off.
In other news, Western Digital just announced the WD TV Live Plus HD media player, which brings Netflix support to the very capable WD TV Live box. It's a nice little portable unit we've shown off before. You can browse and add movies to your Netflix queue with this product also. You can stream YouTube, Flickr, Pandora, Live 365, and more.
Yes.
Pretty sweet.
Yes, it's a nice addition. Oh, before we move on, I got to send an apologies to Andrew Edwards and the rest of the crew over at Gear Live. Somehow I missed the credit to Gear Live on the Engadget repost on the Hulu coming to the Xbox 360 story last week, so people let the record show that it was Gear Live's story, not Engadget's. Engadget was talking about a Gear Live scoop. Sorry about that, Andrew. And please, HT Nation crew, go visit GearLive.com today to make up for any traffic they missed on my account. Nice. My apologies, Andrew. Special thanks to the sponsor of today's episode of HD Nation, the United States Air Force.
I've got nothing on night vision. Switching to thermal.
Don't worry, we're gonna get you home.
Air Force Rescue 11 inbound. Learn more at airforce.com.
A viewer named George wrote in. He said, "Hey guys, I was enjoying Dark City on Blu-ray for the first time the other day, and it made me want to add Brazil, the 1985 movie, to my collection. Any idea when or if this film will be released on the Blu-ray format? I would also like to get your opinion on what you think of this film. Regards, George in Florida, United States of America." Woohoo! Well, we never know what's going to be released until the studios give us the word, or it shows up with an order date on Amazon, or once in a great long while, we get an anonymous tip from somebody rendering a Blu-ray movie. Okay, that last anonymous tidbit has never happened, but it could.
We'd like to encourage it, actually.
Yes, please.
Look, Brazil is a tough nut to crack. I love Terry Gilliam. Terry Gilliam is kind of doomed when he works with the studio system. He's had hits, he's had losses, he's incredible. By the way, Brazil actually originally came out in Europe in 1982, sat for a while because Universal had the distribution rights. Universal didn't think it had an American audience. The Criterion actually has probably the definitive edition. It's a 5-disc DVD version. I would hope that the Blu-ray would have the original Terry Gilliam, the original Terry Gilliam 142-minute dark ending version that was released in Europe in '82, not the 94-minute oh so happy re-edit demanded by the head of Universal that finally showed up on TV after the 131-minute Terry Gilliam approved edit that was released in the US after the 142-minute one received some critics awards in like 1983 84, but that 131-minute one is the one that came out, and basically it's a mess. It's a big messy history. It's a big messy crazy epic movie that critics who aren't Roger Ebert love. It's got like a 98 or 99% on tomato meter. Roger Ebert hates it. I think it's a funny it's just funny as all hell, even when it's neck deep in despair. And the 27B/6, a brilliant innovation in comedy.
I thought I couldn't figure out what version of Blade Runner I had seen until I finally saw the final
right.
version or whatever. Now I'm wondering which version of Brazil I've seen.
If you've seen it on like I
got it on DVD.
If you've seen it with commercials,
no.
There's I want to say that they released both. Yeah, let's not even get into that. It's who knows. It's a cult flick.
I'm gonna look for the 131-minute version.
That would be the one to look for. 142-minute is even better. They're all fantastic. I'll see if I can find the Criterion copy of it.
Awesome.
You should, if you want to see it, see if you can rent the Criterion version. You can probably pull it off of Netflix. It's an amazing movie if you like Terry Gilliam movies. And that's just all I'm going to say about that. Because obviously I'm completely not coherent when I talk about this movie. It's Robert De Niro's role alone is worth seeing. It's weird. It's crazy.
Time to revisit Brazil.
What's new this week coming out on Blu-ray, Rob?
All right. Time for the new Blu-ray releases for the week of June 15th, 2010. Happy birthday, Mom. First up this week, Darkman, starring Liam Neeson and Frances McDormand. This film tells the story of a scientist who miraculously survives an explosion, but the recovery leaves him with synthetic skin and heightened strength. Roger described this movie as pulpy and comic booky. Think Batman without the gadgets if he'd gone crazy. This 1990 film was directed by Sam Raimi, and it was made between Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, and before all 3 Spider-Man films. So check it out to get your old school Sam Raimi fix. Next up, Mary and Max. This claymation film was featured at Sundance last year. It's based on the letters between an 8-year-old Australian girl, voiced by Toni Collette, and her random pen pal buddy, a 44-year-old man from New York City who has Asperger's syndrome. Unable to connect with anyone in their immediate circles, they develop an unusual friendship that lasts 22 years. Although it's animation, themes such as alcoholism, sex, and suicide mean it's not exactly a kid's film. So if you're in the mood for a darkly humorous yet touching film that Henry Selick, director of Coraline and Nightmare Before Christmas, called one of the most powerful films he's ever seen, animated or live, check out Mary and Max.
I'm going to take this one. Flash Gordon, 1980. Unlike a lot of 80s movies, this was actually pretty sharp. Not a lot of that whole soft 80s focus on cheap film, which means the reds and the greens, it's a garish looking film, actually show up pretty good, along with a lot of detail I've never seen from the DVD versions. I saw it back in the theater when I was a very small creature. I gotta say the best part, the Queen soundtrack, which is now in DTS HD to go along with the 1080p VC1 encode, sounds spectacular. And I gotta say, it looks pretty good, better than I expected.
Also released this week, Mystery Train, the Criterion Collection Edition. From one of producer Serafina's favorite auteurs, Jim Jarmusch, this film revolves around 3 stories taking place at the same time in downtown Memphis. The first story follows a young Japanese tourist couple obsessed with Elvis. The second story features an Italian widow escorting her husband's casket back to Italy and has to share a hotel room with a woman whose husband is the focus of the third story. Played by Joe Strummer of The Clash, he drives around the city with Steve Buscemi, and the two get into a bunch of drunken trouble. This film even earned a nomination for the Palme d'Or at Cannes in 1989. As you would expect from any Criterion release, this version comes with a bunch of extras, such as a documentary exploring Memphis and the locations used in the film. 2 video question and answers from Jarmusch, one of which he answers questions from fans, and it even includes a collectible poster. Other releases this week include Book of Eli, 2010's Circle of Pain, 2008's The Horseman, Sanctuary, the complete first season, Sanctuary, the complete second season, The Shadows, the final tour, the 50th anniversary sensational edition of Showgirls, 1987's The Stepfather, Supernatural, the complete first season, When in Rome, and Youth in Revolt. Time to thank one of our sponsors, Netflix. Netflix delivers movies directly to your home, saving you time, money, and hassle. I was in the mood for some goofy fun, so I tweaked my Netflix queue to have the 1997 comedy Austin Powers International Man of Mystery sent to my home. I'll take an original DVD over an edited by persons unknown for reasons I can only guess TV version anytime I can. Now, as a Netflix Unlimited member, you get DVDs by mail in about 1 business day. Plus, you can instantly watch thousands of TV episodes and movies streamed directly to your PC, Mac, or right to your TV via a Netflix-ready device like the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and the Nintendo Wii console. Watch as many movies as you want, shipping is free, and there are never any late fees or due dates. Keep the movies for as long as you like. Get unlimited movies 2 ways for only $8.99 a month, and Blu-ray plans start at just $5.99 a month. As a new member and HD Nation viewer, you can get a free Netflix trial membership. Go to www.netflix.com/HDNation and sign up now. Be sure to use this URL so that they know we sent you. HD Nation viewer Wyatt wrote in. He says, "Hey guys, I just watched episode 47 and I was wondering what program you use to rip your DVDs to store them on a NAS device, a network attached storage device. Thanks in advance, Wyatt."
I gotta say one thing to make sure it's absolutely clear. Some folks have suggested that we haven't made this clear. So everyone that lives in the United States citizen or not, if you're watching, listen, if you don't own one of the super expensive Kaleidoscape DVD archive playback systems, which now also do Blu-ray as of a few weeks ago, the following is a violation of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, aka the DMCA. Why? Cracking copy protection to get the contents off of pretty much all of the interesting DVDs and Blu-rays. Some don't have copy protection, most do, is basically what the DMCA was passed to make illegal. That said,
yeah,
any DVD HD from the good folks at Sliceoft is the tool of choice for unlocking the encryption on DVDs, HD DVDs, and Blu-ray discs here at the facility.
Yeah. Also, every guide I've seen online that says, oh, if you want to convert your Blu-ray or your DVD into another format, they all reference, oh, by the way, you should have Sliceoft's any DVD HD in order to get the whole thing rolling to begin with. They don't actually provide that cracking tool.
Right.
They provide the tool that lets you go ahead and manipulate it however else you want after that initial process. So, and like we tried to mention too, that software occasionally goes on sale for 20% off. If it happens to be like, as we're taping it right now, it's currently 20% off, which is a pretty good deal if you want to save yourself, a fifth of the cost.
What that software does is allow you to play pretty much any Blu-ray or DVD in any region. It allows you to take the information off of the disc, and then you'll need to do something with the information you're pulling off the disc.
Or if you're using a display device like I currently am, my monitor does not support HDCP, so I don't have a protected pathway going from my player to my computer monitor. That makes it work.
Because it basically removes the HDCP copy protection.
Sits in the middle.
Which is a gross violation of the DMCA, and we've said it before. I'll say it really clearly: don't rent DVDs or Blu-rays and rip them for your own personal use. That makes you a weasel and a scumbag.
But
buy the disc.
But for parents, it's a handy tool.
Yes.
Or people wanting to create their own a la Kaleidoscape style library.
Did you know, Daddy, that Blu-rays make excellent and actually are scratchable?
I'm dealing with a bunch of scratched audio discs right now, so I appreciate a clean copy, a clean digital copy of all of my media.
I use Handbrake on top of any DVD. Is that what you use pretty much?
I leave it raw. I rip the entire disc to an ISO file and I play it directly like I have the actual disc in my player.
If you're looking for something a little more compact, check out Handbrake.
There you
Jerry
go.
writes in, "Hey guys, love the show. Keep up the great work." Thank you, Jerry. He says he's got a 42-inch plasma from late 2006 and a kilowatt. Says in standby mode that HDTV alone takes about 50 watts of juice just to sit there. 100 watts with all the consoles, the receiver, and AV switches. And this is in standby for everything. Gary says, this may not sound like a lot, but I'm unemployed and trying to minimize my bills any way I can. Is shutting it on and turning it back off putting unnecessary wear and tear on the TV? Should I eat the extra hydro charges and leave it in standby, or can I do this with no ill effects? This TV is likely going to have to last at least another couple of years before I can upgrade it. Thanks, Jerry in Ottawa.
100 watts sounds like a lot to me. That's not a minuscule amount of electricity to be used. Being
Depending
consumed.
on what you're charging per kilowatt hour, because it's a single light bulb, which may end up being, depending on your charges, like $2 or $20 a year.
It's still, though, it's the newer TVs are definitely better at that.
thing.
Some of the things I would diagnose on the TV real quick is, number one, are you using the TV's electronic programming guide, aka the EPG that might be built into the TV? Most TVs that feature an electronic programming guide are using that with the integrated tuner, like the over-the-air tuner or your cable tuner. Now, in order for that EPG to grab the data, it usually does it while it's in standby mode, hence the power draw during standby that you're seeing right there. Most TVs I've seen are usually consuming around 25 watts or so while that's going on. Newer TVs maybe a little bit less. Another reason the TV may be consuming significant power in standby mode is that it's, like you probably mentioned, or you did mention, was that so it can start up faster when you go to turn it on. Now, with modern HD TVs, when you turn them off, it takes a few seconds before it switches into its low power standby mode, and you can usually hear a TV click when it makes that transition. But that delay is also useful in case you accidentally press the power button and you want to turn it right back on, so it comes right back on and you're not waiting that full 15 seconds again. So if you don't need or use the electronic programming guide built into your TV, redo the TV's guided setup and ensure that the EPG is disabled. Now, if the standby power is not EPG related, check the TV menus for power settings and see if you can cut standby power that way. It might have a quick start mode that's enabled. Otherwise, I've never encountered a problem using a power strip with electronics. I don't recommend sitting there and flipping the switch like a madman. But cutting the power to your unused devices, it sounds like good advice either way, and it's going to save you a little bit of money.
Good to know. Let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, Squarespace. Squarespace.com, people. It's a publishing system. It's a hosting system. It's for anybody that's looking to build a blog, a portfolio, or any kind of website. It's easy, it's flexible, it's painless because there's no coding experience required. Yeah, you can get inside and edit the guts there, get your HTML on if you're that kind of person, but if you want to build a high-end, complex website with kind of amazing functionality you see on some of the really expensive, high-dollar websites out there, you can do it, drag it and drop it in Squarespace. Now, if you haven't seen it, Squarespace is a pretty slick site importer tool that makes it super easy to move your old contents from your old blog onto a new Squarespace blog. WordPress blog or typepad movable type imports are easy. And it's pretty slick. You got a custom domain moving over. Squarespace will actually use the URL structure of your existing site and map everything one-to-one automatically. That way, when you move your domain over to Squarespace, in most cases, all the links to your old posts will work and nothing will break. I know, you're waiting for the discount. Do us a favor, check out the code HDNation when you check out. It doesn't happen immediately. You go, you try out Squarespace for a couple of weeks. At the end, they'll ask you to sign up or go away. Well, they'll ask you to sign up. If you use the code HDNation when you check out, you'll get 10% off for the lifetime of your order. Check it out, people, squarespace.com, and use that HDNation code if you do decide to purchase.
HD Nation viewer Tobin writes in, he says, hello, Robert and Patrick. My wife and I have recently bought a home. The entertainment room is wired for 6.1, and I'm not sure what to do about it. Is 6.1 relevant? I have a killer 5.1 clip setup that I'm finding it difficult to find in stores that sell matching surround speakers as single components. They're usually sold as pairs. Is there much advantage of having that rear speaker? What about putting a center speaker at the rear, just as a thought, since they are sold as singles? Keep in mind that the room is very long. The rear speaker will be about as far to the rear as the television will be to the front, much further than the right and left surrounds. Finally, please explain how the rear channel audio of a 6.1 and 7.1 setup are generated, considering the audio on movies is typically 5.1. Thanks for any advice you might have. Signed, Tobin, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Dun, 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 dun.
I'm sure I'm going to get a flaming email about this from someone out there who is a huge 6.1 fan, but 6.1 was pretty much a speed bump in the evolution of surround sound audio. I've seen it on websites. I've seen it discussed briefly a long time ago, but the idea is you have a center channel, front, left, right, rear, right, and a center rear channel. The reality is almost everybody uses 5.1. It's just fine. Or you can take that extra center cable in the back to yank through 2 more cables to do 7.1. 7.1 doesn't actually have a rear center channel. It's got two pairs of rear speakers, one pair around 110 degrees from you, the second around 135 degrees. So you have sort of a stereo rear channel along with the side filler channels or vice versa. Look, all the channels on audio tracks, the surround sound tracks, are set up by recording engineers. Mono, stereo, 5.1, 7.1, which is how you end up with things like The Wizard of Oz, which had a mono track being re-recorded to create a 5.1 surround track for a modern distribution.
I would just focus on good speaker placement, good balancing of what you have. I wouldn't worry so much about getting that seventh speaker into your 6.1 mix.
Well, he doesn't have this. He doesn't have the sixth speaker yet either.
Save that money.
Yeah,
Save it for an upgrade down the road.
Go with 5.1, and when there's more than a couple 300 movies in 7.1, then think about updating to 7.1.
Yeah.
But
or bigger subwoofer.
Yeah,
Always
or a
proponent.
second subwoofer.
Or a second sub. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Okay, more 6-channel goodness. Hey, Patrick and Robert, is there any way to output 6-channel analog audio from a PlayStation 3? I have an older amp without HDMI inputs, but it does have 6 discrete channel analog inputs. Since audio is converted to analog before it reaches the speakers, even with an HDMI setup, it seems like a waste upgrading my receiver. I know I get fantastic sound from my current setup, if only there was a way of getting the sound into the analog inputs of my receiver. Is there some sort of mini splitter decoder I could use to achieve this? Awesome show, by the way. Thanks, Ben from Australia. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Short answer is no. Until you can upgrade your audio-video receiver to a model that supports the HDMI input, you could go one of two routes. One, pick up a Blu-ray disc player that supports 5.1, 7.1 analog output, that Panasonic DMP BD85 that we showed off in episode 45. That's one example, about $250. There are a couple other options out there in that price range too. The other option would be to use the optical audio output on the PlayStation 3. Chances are your AVR has an optical audio input, and it's not lossless audio, but it should sound pretty darn good. And it gets you support of your common formats until you're ready to make that leap up to a new AVR.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Nuno writes in, I'm buying a 3D Panasonic Plasma and Blu-ray player, and I'm wondering which movies are or will be available in Blu-ray for this player and Plasma. Thanks, Nuno in Portugal. It's like International Week here.
It's awesome.
We got Canada, we got Australia, we got Portugal.
Bring it on, baby. We love everybody.
What is it, 6 maybe? 7? Was it 6 with Cloudy and a Chance of Meatballs? Or
This is
6 without?
It depends what kind of 3D movie you're talking about now.
Oh, brace yourselves.
Now, the Quick Check Online showed there are about 6 movies currently that can be viewed in 3D. However, none of these movies, none of the Blu-ray titles at least, are utilizing the 3D hardware in TVs like your Panasonic 3D Plasmas or the Samsung 3D Plasmas and LCDs. All of these movies are using the classic red and cyan glasses.
Really?
The anaglyphic 3D viewing technology that works on any TV and with any Blu-ray player. Now, the Blu-ray movies that require a 3D compatible player and TV using the cool active shutter liquid crystal glasses are currently being bundled with select players. So,
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs with Sony, Ice Age with
Monsters vs. Aliens.
Monsters vs. Alien with Samsung.
See,
and
but
Ice Age
currently
is
can't, as far as I can tell, you can't buy those standalone yet.
Yet.
Yeah. Those are bundled. They have exclusive deals currently, and that's the only way to get that.
Maybe Ice Age comes with Panasonic.
I was mildly shocked about that. I feel like some of these titles would be available already, so you can do a little crossover, but that's a pretty limited selection.
And there's probably going to be some like Soaring Eagle type Blu-rays. Like, you're laughing because for like years before HDTVs actually were sold anywhere, you'd go to CES and somebody would have this amazing footage of an eagle soaring for like 9 hours on a high definition set. So you
Probably
could
cost a few $1 million to make that eagle soar.
Yeah, and everybody would walk up and stare at it and go, when's HDTV coming to my house?
At least with those titles that I mentioned, those 6 or so titles I looked up online, they all included 4 pairs of those anaglyphic glasses. So,
Which is a lot better than $150 a pair.
and it'll work with any TV, as long as you got a Blu-ray player hooked up to it, I guess, for the Blu-ray version of those movies. Oh, the joys of being an early adopter.
Sorry. iPhone, Android, iPad, all these new phones with amazing new applications. How do you know which ones are worth the download, much less the money? By watching App Judgment. Every day the gang behind App Judgment are giving the latest apps a try so you don't have to waste your time, energy, and cash. Tune in every day to see what apps you should be downloading at revision3.com/appjudgment.
Hey, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode of HD Nation. As always, we want to know what you think. So send your comments, questions, or suggestions to hdnation@revision3.com.
Be sure to catch us on YouTube. If you're a YouTube kind of guy or gal, you can find our channel at youtube.com/techhd. And you can find links regarding everything we've talked about in today's show in the show notes at hdnation.tv.
Plus, you'll find all the links to subscribe to the show. So subscribe and watch. And until next time,
Thanks for watching. I'm Patrick Norton.
and I'm Robert Heron. We'll see you next week.